Welcome back, everyone, to another Fired Up Friday with Candidly Tiff and I. It's been a minute because we didn't have the last one. I was a little under the weather, allergies kicking my butt. They're still working on me, but I feel a lot better. And I'm not going to lie, the break was a little nice because it's hard out here. Things are getting rough. They've been rough, and no, a lot of this stuff is going to get worse before it gets better. But again, I always feel better when I have a chance to chop it up with my friend Tiff, because it's been a lot of things going on. I kind of told her some of the things that we wanted to talk about, but I just want to let her go hot off the top of her chest and say
Mm,
what's on her mind.
Listen, it's been a long 4 weeks. And in between that time, it feels like we have gone back to Jim Crow 2.0. We knew we were headed there, but it feels like we are there now.
Oh,
And
yeah. We all the way in there
we
now.
are all the way up in that. And unfortunately, I don't know how we find ourselves out of this other than to vote. We have to fight back. I was happy to see Kamala Harris do like a streaming kind of podcasting with Emerge and Black Voters Matter, and I thought that was good. We need to see her in the fight. I saw she did a video with Justin Pearson as well, which was nice, and just kind of talk through, kind of what is going on, and giving him praise for for fighting. And for all the people that were in Memphis, that's your state with craziness going on. They kind of kicked this into full gear while we were gone. And it's disheartening in many ways because we have been trying to fight back and trying to gain some of these seats, but then now you also have Steve Cohen today. He said he was retiring, which I'm not surprised. I mean,
Yeah.
he's older and he's not ready for this fight the way it needs to be. So I don't know what seat Justin is now running for because it got split up into three different. Through this pie is now three different ways in Memphis. So I'm sure he has one that he is specifically running in. But I feel like we need to support him, and I hope that the people show out for him. We have seen in certain places where we have gotten a little bit closer than people thought, in that special election. That was a couple of months ago in your state. So it's not for nothing. People should still run in these seats and challenge these folks and try to galvanize people to vote for them because that's the only option we have in a place like Tennessee, because they have decided, and they laughed about what they were doing. They thought it was funny that they were going to get rid of this district, and we are
Which is
we are just
goodness.
watching, and we're just watching everything play out the way that we predicted that it was going to happen with. And we didn't know this Supreme Court decision was going to come down now. I thought maybe it would have come down in June, or like towards the end of June, which would have kind of negated a lot of this because a lot of these primaries would have been completed. It feels almost like SCOTUS did this purposely to do this
I
in
think.
April and beginning of May to play a hand in the redistricting of this and impact the midterm elections, whether they want to admit it or not. I can see the timing for what it is.
Exactly. I mean, of course, being a Tennessean, born and bred, the only time away was my time in the military, most of which was spent in Germany. It truly was a heartbreaking, memorable moment for me. Just standing in my living room watching the live feed of the General Assembly voting on that. I still remember the exact time, 1:23 p.m. And you're right, to do that and to laugh about it, or to try to gaslight us into thinking that it's no big deal. You still get to vote. Like, I was so enraged. I had to channel it somehow. And I was like, no, I'm not going to get on these socials and be saying and doing something stupid because I'm really mad right now. So I channeled it into a Substack that I've got a lot of, response on. One of which was ridiculous, and an example of the folks that I was talking about that helped get us here, with some dude who seems to be black, but he's pretty much in the corner of the Clarence Thomases, the
God.
Stephen A. Smiths, and the Carol Swains of it all. And truly was trying to gaslight me and, talking about, he was born in Memphis. He's from Memphis, but he doesn't live here now. So, first of all, it's like, shut up, because just because you were born here, um, you're not living here, so you don't have to live with the consequences. So don't tell me that our outrage is overblown. And secondly, you are an example of the people that I say help get us here. That 8 million that decided to vote third party, the 90 million who decided not to vote, all the big voices and influencers who go out here bashing Dems, not like they're a perfect party, but compared to the Republican Party, like, they don't deserve all the smoke that they're getting. And you're doing it in such a way as to promote your platform, because that kind of um sensationalism and bashing, really amps the algorithm. But at the end of the day, you create apathy. You're not helping anything. You're not helping anyone except your own platform. So I had a lot of smoke for them too. And I feel like that guy was coming in kind of in that vein, because, he is on some socials or whatever. So you just want to try to antagonize me, but I'm going to read your ass and I'm going to read it for filth right now.
Okay, Miss B. Sometimes listen, you want to step into the arena, you are going to get the smoke. That's the way I feel about it. You should have stayed over there and minded your business. But now
Mhm.
you came here and you want to start something, don't start won't be none. So a lot of these
Exactly.
people, they always got something smart to say, but in reality, this didn't happen just coincidentally. We know how this happened. We've been watching this for years, since 2016, when people were warned about what would happen with the Supreme Court. People have been warning and warning and warning, and no one listens because people don't understand civics, or don't even care to understand civics, and think that, oh, we could just march our way through this. No, you can't. There is only one way to stop this white power takeover, is what I call it. There's only one way that you could have done that, and that was to vote way back when, in 16, in 18, in 20, in 24, and here we are in 2026, and folks are now like, what should we do? Well, maybe you should have
Could
listened.
have done something
Yeah,
then.
you should have listened. Even the John Favreau, the guy, one of those guys from the Pod Save people, they're like, we need to see this report so that we can understand what happened and get some lessons learned. I said to him yesterday, you know what the lesson learned should have been? The lesson should have been learned is to listen to Black voters, because Black people have been telling you that this was going to happen. The people from the Lincoln Project, whom many of us, we don't necessarily like, but they understand politics, and even they were saying in 2024, this is Jim Crow 2.0, we are heading back there. And folks decided that Gaza was more important to them than us here in America, and what the consequences of their non-votes or their vote for Trump would be. And then you have stupid people like Wesley Hunt in Texas who's saying, oh no, racism is over and there's no Jim Crow 2.0 and all this nonsense. There is always going to be a shill, a stupid fool who is going to back up what the white supremacists are saying. And it's disgusting.
It is, and they have always been among us. Harriet Tubman
You
She
sure
knew
did.
how to deal with them, leave their asses behind, but I really, as you said, I thought about today how, like, how long we've been having these discussions and doing this work. I thought about when we were over on the Hellscape now, which is the
Mhm.
Hellscape now, and we used to have these conversations, really trying to kind of educate people, get them civically engaged. And we would rally people, like, we rallied people around campaigns, we raised funds for candidates. It was really a wonderful time, but here we are, and I just think about that gap of time in between, just telling people, warning them, these extremists on the left, the leftists and the black leftists, and the reparations, the tangibles, the student loans, the all these demands, and now it hasn't changed. Now it's litmus test, it's APAC, and it's what you
It's
stand on
always
Gaza.
at first it was Medicare for all. Now it's like there's always a reason to not vote for the Democrats. There's always a complaint, but at the end of the day, if you are a pragmatic person, a smart person, a person who understands actions, who understands consequences, who understands that you reap what you sow, then you understand that sitting out an election is not going to help anyone but the opposition, which is now the white supremacists who are in our government. Let's be clear, they are in our government. They are making it clear that they don't care about people. Donald Trump is out here saying he doesn't care if people have their prices go high. Jim Jordan saying this is kind of it is what it is, and folks are
Deal with it.
yeah, deal with it. You voted for us. We're in power, and this our goal is doesn't. We don't care if you are spending more money. Our goal is again to gain white power so that we can do the things that we want to do. And F you black people, F you Latinos. Yeah, thanks for voting for us, but F you too. And anyone else who is not white and can help our cause, because that's all they care about. And folks get mad and they think, oh, you shouldn't say stuff like that. I don't care. I don't care at this point. The truth is the truth. The truth shall set us all free.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
not. This is not like some kind. People like they're like, oh my God, you're these people. I think Wesley Hunt said, and like, oh, these folks want to be playing like victims. No, there's no victimhood here. This is just the reality of the situation. The situation is that you guys want to take us back to a time when the voting rights was non-existent. The voting rights was put into place to help and protect the rights and give the rights to black people and people of color, where people are like, but you can still vote. Yeah, you're gonna vote, and what's gonna happen then? Because now they have gerrymandered this to the point where it's not even your vote. What is your vote worth? But people still have to fight. They still have to go vote. You cannot sit home.
Absolutely. Well, what they have done here, like this is more your, arena, statistics and these types of things, maps and things. But people who do that here have looked at the maps from 2018 and 2024 and the new maps or whatever, and they have narrowed the margins for, the path for a Democrat in a lot of these. And that, coupled with the fact that, um, it is obvious the Republicans don't care about people's kitchen table issues. And the things that they are doing are making those everyday living situations much worse, more costly. Healthcare is costing more, and some are going without. The grocery prices and things are going up as well. So even people who are, Republicans, maybe even some MAGAs or whatever, eventually, reality sinks in. And people who have a sense of self preservation and survival will do things differently to survive. So they may
Mhm.
just peel off enough people who are fed up with their own party, coupled with the Democrats, to gain some wins here in the state. And like I said, some people call it dummy mandering, because eventually you do it so much, you cut it, you dice it and slice it up so much, you kind of come back to the same place that you were, or the things overlap more than you are aware. And they did it so fast, like they
Right.
really weren't looking at a real map when they did this. They just kind of, it was almost like a crayon kind of thing, like Marsha
It sounds
Blackburn's
like
map.
it. Yeah, it just sounds like they just said you go here like a pie. It's like you're going here, you're going here, and this part is going over here, and this is what it's going to be. And I think the same thing about Texas, right? They try to split these districts up, but if Latinos turn on them, because a lot of these districts were heavily Latino, they are screwed because they did not
Mhm.
take that into account when they decided that they wanted to play this redistricting game. And California, they're gonna those people are gonna win their map. Those people voted for those maps. That's a difference. That's different than what we have seen in Tennessee. And even when we're talking about Maryland, how we were trying to do our own redistricting here, I mean, we would have had to do the same thing like Tennessee, where we would have had to have our legislature be the ones to go in and redraw the map. But that it's interesting because the way that we were going to draw our maps, just it would have given us an advantage to be able to win the district. But again, it could have turned around where people were mad and they could have decided that they were going to vote for or the independents, because it's not so much the Democrats. Democrats are going to stick to voting for Democrat. They don't care. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to try to win this, and it would have been my district at that. But there are a lot of independents within my district because it's a very strange place where I live. It is like there's very blue parts and there's some red parts, and then there's like that purple area where you don't really know how people are going to vote. So I'll give you an example. So Kamala won my county, which most of my county, like a part, most like probably a third of my county would have been in this new district, and Kamala won my county, but Angela also Brooks did not. So you people vote very different depending on who they like or don't like or how they see fit. They did not like Donald Trump, but they didn't hate Larry Hogan. And who's to say they're going to hate Andy Harris? So you have to logically you have to think these things through. And I know that was part of the rationale for why Bill Ferguson didn't move forward with this, because there's a lot to think about with this. I think the governor wanted to move forward with it because he felt like there's only but so many ways you can fight back, and this was one of them. So it's still up in the air. No one knows what's going to happen. But our primary is in 40 days. Like, what's going to really happen now? I don't know. I mean, you can move the congressional. You can just make it so that the congressional districts are not going to be held until a later time. Court battles, all that stuff. But I think we're going to move forward. Maybe 2028 will change it. I don't know. Probably put it on the ballot. But it's complicated. It's not as
Right.
simple
A
as
lot of
people make it
things.
seem.
Right, and a lot of this is in flux. I mean, in all over the country, because I understand Virginia now has had their stuff halted.
Yeah,
That's a whole, and that is why it is important to get involved locally, to understand how your state government works, because each state has their own constitution as well, and laws and things. So it's important that you understand what is going on, and that whenever and wherever possible, that you get engaged, that you make your voice heard, because and we make our voices heard through our vote. And if it didn't matter, they wouldn't be working so hard to take it away from us. And
exactly.
as you can see, you don't use it, you can lose it. And now a lot of people are waking up. Truly, as John Lewis said, it is the most powerful nonviolent weapon we have here in this country, and people fought and died for it. So I really get angry when people act like it's no big deal. Not for the people like 21% of the people here in my state can't vote already before this because of felony disenfranchisement. And they are the worst in the nation at providing a pathway for people to regain their voting rights. Like you can get gun rights before you can get voting rights
Crazy.
restored.
Yeah, and I think that's a good distinction because in our state they just passed legislation so that as soon as someone is free, they're even if once they complete their sentence, that they can restore their voting rights. So this is the difference between a red state and a blue state. And I think that people assume, if you're in a blue state, that people here trip me out because they want to move. These white folks want to move to red states because they don't like that people get so much freedom here, and they think that everything is a tax, and they have all these issues. And I'm just like, go. Remember, I told you the story the last time about the man and the dealer, and this is what we have to deal with. The man and the dealer. Was back in the dealer today, and the guy who's working there, he was saying that he wishes he was in Florida, and I'm like, just go, please. Can you guys
Go
just
already. Make room for someone else.
make
Yes.
room for other people to come here? Because I really can't deal with y'all complaining all the time. So it's interesting how people perceive stuff, and then you have people in purple states, right? Like we have people in Pennsylvania, and they have some serious election stuff going on too, right? They have a pretty contentious race that's coming up for their congressional district, where you have a person who is more left leaning and a person who's more to the moderate left side, who are battling it out. So you have all these different things that are happening within blue states, purple states, red states, and it just feels like we have no break. There's no break in any side of this. Like there's no. It's like we got to get it from all sides.
And
Unfortunately,
unfortunately, that is where we are right now. And I think in part we are here and feeling, under this deluge of, this war that we're in, this information war, this assault on democracy, and we're having to fight hard. And people like you and I, we're going to fight regardless, until, like John Lewis, until my last breath, I'll be fighting. But the fight wouldn't be so hard if other people had woken up and been fighting sooner. But unfortunately, sometimes I feel like, and I address this kind of in my Substack article, I think that there are certain generations who are a little bit too far removed from, history, recent history, like the civil rights movement. Like I was alive then. I benefited from that. But there are several generations removed who take those things for granted. People who are new to our country also don't understand the sacrifice and the fight that Black people made to force this country to become the democracy that they're able to walk into. So it's hard for them to appreciate that. And now, like we're in the FO stage. Those of us who knew are here with the ones who have to be here to find out. So I am hoping this revelation wakes up some of that group.
yeah, no, for sure. And I think it should wake up not only just, people who have come here that are non-white. It should wake up white folks too.
Mm.
Is this the kind of democracy that you want to live in? Because it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be the kind of place that you would want to be. There are people in 60, 70 years ago who didn't even want to drink from a water fountain of people who did not look like them. And
I
we
grew
have
up in that time. I
yeah,
mean,
we have, and like I said, I don't think that people appreciate the fact that we had moved from that to be able to be integrated and be able to go to school with each other and be able to have certain freedoms to be able to just marry a black and a white person, to be able to marry one another. These things were not things that were happening unless we had the fight to be able to have them. So the fact that people don't are willing and not understanding how they themselves were able to get the freedoms that they have is frustrating to me, because even my grandparents came here from Puerto Rico in the early 40s and they were called all kinds of names and they were living up north. So they didn't even go through the Jim Crow 2.0, but they still face massive racism from people who were up north and were racist themselves. Racism is universal. It is every country, every place, it doesn't matter. So you're not going to escape that. But the goal was to lessen the amount of racism, but it feels like we're back there.
yes, and also, like, racism, we can't end racism. Only racist can end that,
Exactly.
okay? But what we can do and what we had done with a lot of the civil rights movement is to provide protections. So it is no longer healthy for people to express their racism openly, for businesses to have accountability, for educational systems to have accountability, and regular schmegular everyday folk too. Just couldn't go around saying and doing certain things without consequences because there were protections. And what Project 2025 has done so well, and this administration has carried out, is to strip away those protections. Like last year, the state legislature passed the Dismantle DEI Act, which essentially took away the Human Rights Board of Protection that people could go to and take their complaints. They took that away, which they had already passed a bunch of bills anyway, dictating what could be taught in schools, what universities could teach, and already pushing, like not using racial metrics for certain things. So, I mean, they really just dismantle the 1965 Civil Rights Act, like piece by piece, like death by a thousand cuts. And I don't think that a lot of people recognize how protected they were. And as you said, not just Black people, but white people too, like with the affirmative action, white women benefited more from that than Black women.
Mhm.
And they don't care about women either. And I think white women are starting to find that out.
I would hope so, because a lot of they are to these white men, they are second class citizens. Like, they don't care if you're a woman. They think that women shouldn't even be, some of these people think women shouldn't even be able to vote.
Exactly.
And women had to fight hard to be able to get that right as well, right? I mean, there was many fights that, of course, that happened before I was even born. Some happened even before you were born, right? And so, women, whether you're women or you're Black or you're a person of color, whether you're LGBTQ, all of these marginalized groups have had to fight for their freedoms in this country. And it just feels like people are squandering the hard work that so many of the people that were here before us put in to try to give them those freedoms. And I was very upset, and I'm still upset over the fact, and I'm not surprised, but I'm still upset with the fact that all of these podcast people who have these huge platforms, They are wasting their time talking about shit that does not even matter, but didn't take the time to even talk about the Supreme Court decision. Don't even care about the impacts that it's going to have. And that is very disheartening to me. And it's also very real for how we feel in the scheme of things, because we have always felt that we were never a priority in the things that they talked about, because if it was, we wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be demonizing certain people. Kamala Harris, you treated her like crap. We saw all the things that Biden did to try. He's not a perfect person. He has his own past of dealing with race issues. But what we did see was the promises that he said he was going to fulfill in getting the first Black woman Supreme Court justice on to the court, or whether it was making his cabinet look like America and passing laws. I mean, think about how long it took to pass the anti-lynching bill, right? This is something that happened under Biden. And it took for us to have a majority in the Congress to be able to do it. And yes, some members did help with that, because of course it passed in the Senate. I think it finally passed in the Senate with no kind of objection. But even so, we still had so many years before even people declared lynching a crime in this country. Okay, like,
Well,
it's
now
crazy.
it is. And I mean, we still have, as a country, like, we didn't sign on to the UN, bill or expression that slavery was
That was
wrong.
insane.
I mean, so we can't admit that as a country. It is not surprising that it took this long for them to pass an anti-lynching bill. But hey, I don't have any failure of imagination about them trying to undo that too, because they have revised some of the, they are all about trying to lock people up, and the private prison industry is growing at such a pace under them. They have taken away some of the laws that were in place around the execution, like medicines and stuff, and they have instituted like firing squads.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it sounds insane, but a couple of years ago, we were having the same problem here in Tennessee, because we still have people on death row with the medications that they needed, and they were throwing out these suggestions. And one guy did suggest lynching.
Oh
Yes,
yeah, I've seen it.
yes,
There was a congressperson who not too long ago said something to the effect of hanging someone. I mean, these people are insane. So you are battling, not only, like I said, you're battling the racism, you're battling the fact that people are they just do not like women. They do not like trans people. They don't really like anybody, if we're being honest, but themselves. And
and power.
and I always say that stuff like this is unsustainable. It eventually the pot is going to boil over. It's a question of at what point, because what we saw in 2022 is there was a Supreme Court decision that did boil over the pot, because women, because it impacted women, which was the Dobbs decision that impacted abortion,
Mhm.
that women actually turned out and they voted in 2022. Young people voted in 20. So we did not have a red wave as people thought there was going to be. And so now we are in, but of course that was with the old maps, and now we have new maps in many of these states that need to be worked out. I was happy that Jim Clyburn is not, for now, is not losing his seat, because Jim Clyburn is funny, because he's like, okay, you want to test me? I promise you won't win the other seats. You might even lose two, and I'm running. So there's also that kind of thing where you can't back down either. You have to like the people criticize Jim Clyburn because they felt like, he had to compromise with the South Carolina like legislature to keep his seat way back when. But there's a reason for that, because he does have relationships with people and they respect him. They understand his power in the state, and they know not to mess with him. So they backed off. Those four people in the legislature, those four Republicans backed up and said, okay, now will Donald Trump apply some pressure and try to convince them otherwise? I don't know. We'll see. But I feel like when you have someone as powerful as Jim Clyburn, that's actually an asset in this type of situation. Whereas Steve Cohen had no power. They hate, as he said today, they don't like me, and they hate Justin Pearson even more. Like, I mean, it's crazy.
Oh, yay! Myron has joined us, but you're absolutely right, and this is perfect timing as well too. Because hey, Myron,
Hi.
so glad to have you joining us. We, just kind of have been talking about, the rollback of our rights and our voice, uh, and we've kind of covered how it's being carried out in various states and gave a little history update too. And we talked about how long we've been in this fight, doing this and trying to get crazy people to listen to us.
Insane.
So how are you today? I know you are a busy man. You're bouncing out of one pod, jumping into another. So thank you so much, my friend. But I really
I'm happy to
wanted
be back.
I love having your voice in this conversation, and the audience tends to love it when you join us too. But I tell you, Tiff, I was truly surprised and proud this week when, I kind of scan different, socials or whatever and decide who I'm going to be listening to at what moment. And don't you know, I was on the YouTube and I'm like, oh, it's Don Lemon's showtime. So I am going to tune in. I'm like, that's Myron. That's Myron.
Oh,
I didn't even know. Okay, that's how bad I am. I never watched Don Lemon. I only knew he was on Don Lemon because he made the video about it. Like, I do not like watching other people's podcasts. Like, I am the worst person.
I feel you.
I'm not watching. Like, I just don't watch. I really don't. To be honest, I really scale back on what I watch because it's too much. Like, it's too much even for me. So unless I see a clip or if I see something like Zach, he has his podcast that he does. So if he sends it or posts a clip of it, then I'll go and watch the whole show kind of thing. But otherwise, I am trying to distance myself from all the political news because it's overwhelming.
It really is. And that is saying a lot for someone like yourself.
Somehow I'm always in the know, though. I know everything that's happening, and I never even have to watch 1 hour of shows. Because I get the news sent to me all day long from either being on social media or Aaron. I get a million Aaron updates. Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. I'm like, Aaron, even Aaron.
Right.
Even Aaron got to the point yesterday that he was like, I will be so happy when I never have to work this administration ever again. Like, even the people that aggregate the news are annoyed at this point.
Exactly. But again, like I said, it was such a treat to decide to listen to Don at that moment and to see my friend Myron on there and with one of my state representative, Justin Jones.
Right? That was wild.
Justin Pearson.
Me and my A's jersey.
Yes, this is an extra treat.
The story about changing the shirts made me laugh. I was like, only Myron.
I just,
I love it.
Yeah,
so
it was fun. It was fun.
You look like it. You were having fun, but I was just glad that, again, you guys know I've been working a long time to try to build community and to help empower people with civic engagement and to uplift the voices of others who are doing that kind of work and information. And you two are two of those voices. I've interviewed you both, and I just appreciate the work that you do and how useful I know that it is to people, but it made me feel good because, of course, Don Lemon has a much larger platform than I do. And to see your voice uplifted on that platform really made me feel good. But I feel you, Tiff. I tune out a lot. I have and so it was just serendipitous to find Myron there. But Myron, could you tell the audience why Don had asked you to come on? Because I think this is important. And this is also part of, like the various creative ways that we're going to have to start to fight back in this moment.
Yeah, Don saw my post I did it on all the apps, but I put it on Instagram. I had my magazine designer make me a flyer about boycotting the SEC football because of the gutting of the Voting Rights Act and how quickly the Confederate states moved to gerrymander out Black representation. And the idea of boycotting SEC is not new. Like that's an old thought that's been around for not just the SEC, but college football. That's been around for a long time. I mentioned that my grandfather, who was from Texas, used to say that they should boycott until Texas hires some Black coaches. And this was back in the 70s. And so it's not anything new with college football. But I felt that combined with the gutting of the Voting Rights Act, to put that together, I just thought it would be a moment that you could galvanize people and make a conversation. And
It
it was
was a
one of
brilliant connecting the dots moment.
right. And as soon as that ruling came down, I text my designer and she works from home. And I said, I need you to make me a flyer right now. She's like, leave me alone. I'm at work. And I go, no, I need this right. I need this right now. So we put it together. It took us about an hour. And I put that on Instagram. That thing has 1.2 million views now, just on Instagram. And so, because I knew it would be a moment that you could put two and two together. And so, and there is a national dialogue, and I don't know what will happen. And in the conversation with Don, Rep Pearson, Justin Pearson, and with Jamil Hill, there were a lot of ideas thrown around that you can do something. You're not going to get the nation to stop watching college football all of a sudden. It's just, we saw it with Kaepernick. Like, you did some performative things for a little while, then it all went away. But you can do something. And one of the points I made, I want to make that point here, that yes, they're 18, 19 to 22-year-olds. They're in that age bracket, right? And yes, it's in college football is massive. And SEC, the Southeastern Conference, is the jewel of college football. And 56% of Black people live in the South. The attack on our voting power is right there. And those 18 to 22, 23-year-olds that play college football, they're voting age. And so even if they didn't protest in how we think of protest, you could do it in different ways. You could delay coming out on the start of the game. You could say, we're not going to go on the field until 30 minutes later. You can say, and this is what I think they should do right now, you go to your white head coach and say, we're not going to play until you get a voting booth back on this college campus. Do that. Like, there's so many ways you could.
And that's so apolitical. I mean, that's just democratic.
Right. And so it wouldn't just be Black people voting. It would be for everybody, because often, and the people who only want government to do something for Black people, because there's a branch of Black people that think that we just want something for us. And we know that's not how government works. But something like that, where you say, I want a voting booth on this campus, or I'm not going to play there. Or if I'm the top recruit, there's 500 top recruits. If a recruit says, I'm not going to Alabama unless they put a voting booth on campus, I'm telling you that money, those boosters, they will make those things happen. We know that. We know that because when I was a kid and when my grandfather was young and they didn't have Black players and they started playing those colleges, and Jamil Hill brought this up, when Alabama went to USC to play and USC was full of Black kids and Alabama got wiped out back in the late 60s, early 70s, Bear Bryant was like, hold up. We need some of them Black boys at our school. And it changed college football. So we know they could do it. You just have to hit the right pressure points.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
and sometimes it's multiple pressure points. And
Yes.
let me just pause a moment, guys. I just want to thank everyone who's joining us. We have quite a few people joining us on Substack. I want to give them a shout out. We got folks joining us from YouTube. I even see folks here from X. Thank you, guys. If you're on Substack, hit the hearts, increase that algorithm. And now I want to go back to our guest. Tiff, go ahead. You were
yeah,
saying.
no, I listen. I think there's many ways that people can figure out how to put pressure on the people that are in power, right? Because this all comes down to power, right? Just
Exactly.
whether it's the donors that give money to the schools, whether it's the coaches. I think we talked about this on our Wednesday show on the Big Three. And one thing I said is that I feel like a lot of these players need to have like a support system, and
There you go.
they need some
Yes.
guidance. They need like a conglomerate of them need to come together and talk about what they're going to do, and whether it could be people on the team, whether it's the players on the team come together, kind of like an outside kind of thing where they are in a group chat kind of thing where they are talking and trying to figure out what it is that they want to do. Because I think, to your point,
That's good.
they could come up with some creative ways, right? Listen, we want to play, but we need to have, outside of every single game, a voter registration, because that's
Exactly.
that doesn't have to be
Political.
a party, right? That has to
Yes,
do, but
that's nonpartisan.
yes,
That's just
and
that's
those
just
and those
democratic.
students, those players and students actually have influence over other students, right? The goal is to
Yes.
get more people to be engaged in voting. So how
Right.
do you do
Yeah.
that? Use their social media. It doesn't always have to be, well, I'm not going to do XYZ to bring attention to something. It could actually be doing something that is actually proactive, like telling people to actually vote.
Yeah, that's it.
Simple.
That's simple. Like I said, nonpartisan. It is just, I mean, because
Yes.
truly it is so basic that voting, like we are a democratic republic, okay, which means, a representative democracy. And the way we get represented in the way that we want is our vote, you know?
It's that simple. You know what? I want to go back to something you said about Tiff earlier about all the breaking news. Tiff, when you were on vacation, like I lost a lot of the source of my content. Like you were gone.
I really was gone. I was like, I am not posting for like 3 days. That was done.
I was like, she posted vacation stuff, and I need some content to make videos about.
So funny. Yeah, no, listen, I was like, Phil's looking at me like, you better not even look at that phone. I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it for a couple days. But even with making videos, like I think, we tend to not really understand like the power that we have through making those videos. Because sometimes I make videos and I'm like, I don't even want to do it. I'm sure you are like that, Myron. You're like, I don't want to do this. But you feel kind of like an obligation to like tell people stuff, and you never know what's gonna blow up or what's gonna go viral or any of that. So you just kind of do it to just do it. But I just feel like when you do it, you never know who's on the other side of
Yes.
watching it and who you are actually influencing or getting to recognize kind of what is going on, because there is so much going on and a lot of people do want to tune out. And of course, this is all driven by algorithm. Like your post was obviously something that the algorithm pushed through. And
Right.
sometimes we ourselves
You
can
can hack the algorithm a little bit.
algorithm to listen to what you're saying, because guess what? There's a lot of people that, I think you posted that video on a Friday,
Right.
and college, people are starting to talk about college football and what's going on, even NFL football. And so you start to see the kind of like these worlds starting to kind of collide.
Mhm.
You can shape the algorithm, is my point, that to make it
Yes.
what you want it to be. Sometimes you can't, but many times you can.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I just want to, say kudos to both of you. My hat's off because you both do awesome content creation. You inspire me. I keep saying I'm going to do it. I will never be as prolific as you two are.
I'm retired. That's why I got a
It
little
will
free
not-
time.
Myron is
Well,
retired.
I
I have a job, and
You
I'm
have a
just sitting here
job.
like. And
Well, I'm retired too, Myron, but I it's just kind of not something I feel super, comfortable with.
Not
I
every-
do want to do some. I'm more comfortable with like facilitating conversations, the other stuff that I do. But I do get the impact that these videos can have. And I like to amplify folks like you who I know are putting good information in your content. Like you're not just doing stuff for likes and clicks,
Yeah.
and you have receipts. Like some of these people just be out here saying and doing everything.
They don't even know what the hell they're talking about. But
Your
that's the
facts,
frustrating
baby.
part, right?
Here is
But,
your facts.
but it is frustrating because the people who know the least or say the most stupidest things, those are the people that typically get pushed through the algorithm
They
because
do.
they're just the dumbest folks. And
It's performative. It's
yeah,
so
it's very performative, and it's just annoying. But I was happy. The one video that I was actually proud of this week was the young man. I don't know if he was in a southern state, and he had that red hat on.
Marshawn.
Ooh,
Marshawn, yes,
he
in
was
Louisiana. The
even my
last
look.
president
I
in the
knew
world.
the listen. I knew the algorithm was working and doing its thing because my daughter sent it to me, and she was like, look at this, and I was like, yeah, I saw he did his thing, and I saw that he was on a show today, one of the bigger shows, and you know what? That's what we need. We need young people to speak truth to power because
Yes.
we old folks, we could say whatever we want. I'm not that old, but and neither are y'all.
Older.
But young people will listen more to younger people who are telling the truth, and that's what we need. He was very brave to go there and just lay it all out. And
Yeah, he even got Michael Steele quote tweeting.
right, I saw that last night. So sometimes because what we have seen in the past is that yes, young people were the ones who led these movements.
Right.
And so, but we need young people to be engaged. We need them to understand civics. We need them to understand how this all works. And we can guide them. We can encourage them, which is what I'm saying about the whole SEC thing in football, that these young people actually have power. But their power doesn't always have to be to stop doing something. It can be to start doing something.
Yes,
exactly.
yes.
And that is the perfect way to put it, Tiff. And also another point that you had made earlier, couple. Yes, because SNCC was young people, young college people. John Lewis was in college here in Nashville at the American Bible Association, the American Bible College. And then he was attending the training sessions for the nonviolent movement at Fisk University. And he later started going to Fisk. And my point that I wanted to connect with what you said is, yes, they had the energy, the vigor, the energy, but they also worked with the SCL, Martin Luther King's organization, and CORE, which were not necessarily college students, but African Americans, still relatively young. It was like different groups kind of working together to build an infrastructure, a support system. And older people here even in the town, like when those young people decided and they voted, like on how they would respond when they got the reactions that they did, like when they got locked up and when they went to court. Like they chose not to pay, the bail. They wanted to be locked up because at that moment, that was a way of capturing the attention of the nation. But when it came time to pay bail or pay fees or whatever, there was a support system in place to pay those fees for them. And that's my point. It's like they can't be out with, people like they need to do this and they need to do that. Okay, how can we help them? How can we be a support? And I mean the collective we. So we want people to get out there, but we also have to think in terms of what kind of community support are we offering them when they're out there,
Yeah, and we saw that, right, with George Floyd. Like after George Floyd, we saw that the movement got stopped because you know why? Because Black because after the whole Black Lives Matter thing, and they decided
Orange dude in the White House lost his mind because
yeah,
white people were out there.
because defund the police kind of derailed that whole situation, and that is also part of why you have to kind of plan these things out and have a good collaborative of people. They didn't just walk into Woolworth. They had a plan. They knew what was going to happen.
They had a plan and they had training. Like they went
exactly.
like
didn't just end up on that bus. Okay, there was a lot of planning that went into it. So I agree with you. We need to have a support system for these people. We need to be able to back them up, because I think even in the 60s, there was a lot of Black folks that didn't back the civil rights movement up.
No.
We can do better. We have to find the people who want to be a part of this.
Yes.
Allow them to be a part of it, but also don't diminish what they're doing when they do it, because there's a lot of naysayers that will say, no, don't do it. You can do it, but don't do it like that. And we saw that with Gaza too, right? There were people who legitimately had concerns about Gaza, but again, it was derailed. And then it bled into 2024 election, which then caused us to be where we are now. So all of these things start to come together, and we got to do better to make a difference. We can't just do the same things over again and expect the same outcome.
Absolutely. And you're right.
I think you made a good point, Dee, about the age, because Jesse Jackson was doing sit-ins in college, right? Bobby Seals, Stokely Carmichael, Huey P. Newton, they were in the early 20s coming out of UC Berkeley in college, or Huey P. Newton coming out of Berkeley, but they were young. And even Dr. King was in his early 30s. Like these were young people. And Tiff, Miss Denise, as a young Loris, they were in their 20s.
Yeah, interviewed her too. Her beautiful story and the work that kind of, pro-democracy work, community work. And you talk about Miss Denise, and one of the things that still resonates with me is that they fought for things that mattered to their community, that was specific to the needs of their community. Like they had the lead-based poisoning that was, killing the folks, and like getting translators in hospitals. Today, we can thank the young lords for that, Miss Denise and those folks. I'm sorry, Myron. Go ahead.
And so that was the point. So you combine that with what Tiffany is saying about strategy, about having some goals, some pre-planning, some really good specific goals, getting the right people on board, make sure people have instructions, and then you execute that. Like going back to the Montgomery bus boycott, they had meetings ahead of time to work that out, because people still need to get to work, right? People still need to get, to go get groceries and to go to church. And so they figured out how to do that. And they sort of created the first ride share. It just was free, but they created the first ride share, right? So there are ways to do it. You can do pressure points. And to Jamil Hill, she made a great point. Yes, but you also got to get the coaches. Right? You got to get the coaches, you got to get the professionals. Like there's a way to do it. Now, it'd be wonderful. We all just said, nobody plays sports until we fix this thing. But you're not going to get a million.
This is America.
Yeah, you're not. You got to be realistic. But if you do it strategically, and someone else said, I was on a podcast earlier, well, what if you just did one college at a time?
Yeah.
What if you did your protest and you planned it and said, you can even tell the universities, we're going to protest your college on this day. We're going to be in this section, and our athletes are going to meet us in the parking lot and delay the start of your game. We'll be there. And then you go to the next one and the next one. You just keep doing that, and you will not only bring attention to it, but you'll bring attention to why you're doing it. And maybe you can affect change like that. And you do voter registration for all those things.
And also, I also think alumni play a role in this too. Like, like alumni who go to these schools, like there's a lot of NFL players who could step up and get involved, because I feel like it's kind of unfair to put this on young
The
Yes.
young,
these
the
young
new ones who are
athletes.
still trying to make
Yeah,
Gotta
I
be
mean,
their
shared.
name and
there's
their
people that
money.
are making millions and millions of
Yes.
dollars who could
Mhm.
actually come and do influencing too within these schools and try to make a difference and try to push some of these ideas, and also a support system for these
Yes.
players.
Yes.
Because if these players get kicked out of this school, then what happens next? These people have pull in these other schools to be able to
Yes.
help them. So there's also that part of it, because there are young people and their parents too. I mean, you
Yes.
think of many of these people that are going to these schools, they're not, especially the black players, they're not coming from wealth. They're not
No.
coming from
Right.
they're coming from a place where their parents are just making it, and they're happy that they got a scholarship
Exactly.
to get out and be able to make their family proud, and also be able to play college sports, and hopefully one day make it to the NFL. Now,
Exactly.
the top flight players, they have the most influence. The middle of the road players don't really have too much
Right.
influence, but it all has to come together. So I think there needs to be. I think the idea is a good idea. How to execute it and implement it is a whole nother thing, because that's where people
Yes.
get caught up in things go astray. Okay,
Right. And you know
so
what? Jamil Hill made that point. She said
good.
Carmelo Anthony has just given millions to his alma mater, Syracuse.
Hmm.
And there are other athletes and famous alumni who do things for the universities, even if they don't give money like that. The athletes, you know what they do? They go help with recruiting,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? They go help smoosh the sponsors. They do all those things, and they, like you said, Tiff, they have influence. And we
Mhm.
need those professional athletes, whether they're active or retired, to put pressure on their alma maters, because they need them to be a positive voice to get people to come to that school, and
Exactly.
they can do that.
Well, I'm glad she said that, because because there's so many ways to do things, and I really hate that we have to put the pressure on young people to do
Yeah.
stuff, especially in a state like Louisiana,
Ooh,
or a state like
yes.
Florida, and a state like all these Mississippi, where there's a lot of people who really don't vote. But imagine if the people that actually have some pull in those states, which is mostly sports. It doesn't even NFL, right? They
Yeah.
actually, because I think about the WNBA, right? And during and after George Floyd, the influence that they had,
Yes.
they were doing voter registration drives. They had insignia,
Yeah.
they had stuff that they were putting on their shirts. Like they were moving the needle. And the WNBA is not what it was a couple years ago. I mean, it's
Right.
grown. It's a
Right.
growing thing. But those players, they were very
Yeah.
much focused on trying to bring awareness
That was risky.
to the issue, and it
It
was
was. I mean, and that is what it takes, because yes, they took great risk, but I think that it mattered, and it was
Mhm.
perfect timing. But some of these guys and these gals who are retired or whatever, they don't have to risk as much, and they
Right.
also have an established reputation on which
exactly.
to have these conversations with other people that the
Yeah.
young people have yet to build, like they're trying to build. So, I mean, it's really all hands on deck
It
at this
is.
point. It
Mhm.
really is, in every way that you can. I know folks, we talk about this a lot. They don't like politics. They think both parties are the same. Baby, you got to wake up, okay? Because you may not like politics, but politics is working with you all up in your life, in your
That's a
pocketbook,
fact.
every day.
all up
That's a
in it
fact.
all up in it. Yeah, I mean, it's you can easily say I don't care about politics, but at the end of the day, you can don't complain, because if you
Right.
start complaining, then I'm gonna say, well, you didn't even vote, you didn't even care about politics, and
That's the number one rule for me. If you
it
didn't vote, don't
exactly.
complain.
I don't want to hear it. And with that said, we have plenty of elections that are coming up,
Plenty.
so
Yes.
people go vote.
Speaking of which, I don't want to keep you guys too long, but Myron joined us a bit late. I definitely want to get your take on all the election shenanigans out there in California. I
Oh
I
my
caught a
goodness.
moment or two of that crazy debate last night, and, what's that dude, Hilton? Oh my god,
Hilton.
he was
Yeah.
so obnoxious.
Yeah.
So, tell
He's
us
a
what's going on there.
the little British guy from Fox News is he's just awful. He's a Fox News host. He's a conservative from England, and the audacity to think that you could just move to this country and a couple of years later be the governor of a state. Like it just is it's beyond anything. But he's leading Republicans. He's the top Republican choice right now, and I don't think he'll win. But just the fact that Republicans don't have a standard, like it just doesn't matter. And he will do like Tom Steyer, just say anything. Okay, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this. Even things that as a governor you have no control over doing, it doesn't matter, just say it. And he's doing that. So there's him. Tom Steyer got caught secretly paying influencers $10 per post to make
$10 is wild. Okay, not even $100. $10
I am so glad you brought it up. I learned about that last night. They asked me to guess, how much a millionaire was paying influencers, and I was like, I don't know. I mean, he could pay untold amounts of
right.
money. I was not prepared for the answer.
$10 is wild.
I made the point that the minimum wage in California is $16.90.
Right.
And depending on your specific city, it's as high as $20 an hour. That man was paying $10 per post. Imagine selling yourself out for $10 per what our gas is $6 to $7 a gallon here in California.
You can't even get a McDonald's meal for that. I went to Burger King and I bought a Junior Whopper meal and it was $9. So yeah, that's not
Right.
you're not buying. What do you guys have? In-N-Out over there or Jack in the Box? You're not buying none of that stuff. Okay, with that.
I mean, that was very, very telling for me.
Right. But it's from the group that for the last 10 years or something have said there are no ethical billionaires. Eat the rich, so and so. And now they're backing a billionaire in California and they're allowing that billionaire to pay a few of them $10. Like their entire existence has been against this thing.
Unbelievable.
And they're right in it. It just is. This is the same guy, Tiff. And you remember, he's the same guy that stole Kamala's data during the 2020 presidential data.
I hope he paid Juvenile well for his performance that night because he's such a cheapskate. Because I couldn't believe when I saw $10. I was like, wow, this is really unbelievable. Right? That you people would allow yourself to get you because think of I mean, when videos, you got to edit, you got to spend at least 20, 30 minutes trying to make it right, put captions on it, do all these things. This is like a simple thing. Come on, guys, at least $50.
Exactly.
One of the face. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, but it doesn't surprise me because listen, the rich get rich from exploiting people who are poor, and in this economy, people are desperate. And
that's exactly what
the part that scares me because if people are desperate and they can no longer afford to live, like you said, gas is high. I mean, cost of living is just insane. But $10.
One of the Substack followers said this. She said, Green and OC said, he's preying on people that are desperate for money.
Exactly.
What you do when nobody is looking is a reflection of who you are. I couldn't agree more.
That's a great comment.
That's perfect. And and I saw that they were going to investigate him for this, which I was like, good, he should, because it's actually illegal.
Isn't that, what do you call that? Slave labor.
This is insane. And then this morning, I guess it was last night, he was saying that Javier Becerra was going like basically like alleging or trying to make it seem like he's going like he is the problem and he's going to be in trouble with the law. And I'm like, dude, you're the one that's actually being investigated right now. Like what? Like this race has turned into such
a mess.
craziness.
Such a clown show, but I
Katie-
am glad
and
that
Katie
we have,
Porter. Oh my God, can we just talk about her for 2 seconds?
yes, I am glad we have a Californian here to give us the real scoop.
Katie Porter, please,
That
please.
last night, well, she really tried it with him. She's so condescending, and I love the fact that Javier Becerra just kind of called it out. He said, obviously, I must be the front runner since everybody.
I know
today, like he's so dry. He's just a dry person.
She's resisting. She's resisting the call to step out.
She's never going to step out. She has too much of an ego. That lady's not stepping out. None of them are. They're Mayhem, the other people, none of them are going to step out. And but what has to happen is that the people in the state of California need to turn out and figure. I think most people have come to the realization that Javier Becerra is the best candidate. He wasn't necessarily everybody's first pick, but he is the pick now.
That's good because
and I think he's
from California has a question. She says,
go ahead.
Myron. She wants to know who Myron is backing. So let him tell you.
I have made a couple posts on it, and I endorse Javier Becerra, and I'll tell you why. And I made this point that Javier Becerra is a good contrast to Gavin Newsom, right? And so he has government experience, attorney general, worked with the Biden administration. And if I was the interviewing hiring manager, sometimes you do want a flashy person like Gavin Newsom. You want a public relations person. You want a person that can be on TV and do all those things. And then sometimes you need a back office person, right? You need a person that is steady. He's not going to have errors. The T's will be crossed. Almost like you think of a finance person, an auditor, all the numbers are always going to add up. Whereas with the Gavin, sometimes he's a salesperson. Sometimes those numbers don't add up, and some of those sales are going to come back, and you did something a little bit
bite you in the butt.
Yes, but with Trump in the White House for the next couple of years, in theory, I think Mr. Becerra is the right choice. And you know what? I also think that it is past time for California to have a Latino Mexican American governor.
Say it. Right? Yes.
It is the largest minority in the state. And I've corrected a couple of people. He wouldn't be the first. He'd be the third, but it'd be the first in over 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so he's steady. He knows how government works. Look, he's not flashy or anything. And he's also not the best for debates because he knows what can and cannot be done. And so when Steyer just says, well, I'll do Medicare for all. I'll do free child care.
I'll wave my magic wand.
Right. I'll arrest ICE. And Mr. Becerra is the attorney general or was the attorney general. He'll say, no, this is what we have to do. This is what we can do. And sometimes American voters don't like to hear that. They want to hear Donald Trump say, I'll end the Ukraine war on day one. And I'll do these 100 things on day one. And they just go, yay. And Kamala Harris will say, okay, another attorney. We have a process. I work with Congress. We're going to try to do this. And people go, oh, that's boring. Mr. Becerra, so he's my choice. I've already voted for him. My wife and daughter, we voted for him because we got our ballots in the mail. You just fill out your little ballot. And unfortunately, there's 61 people running for governor in California on the ballot.
That ballot is
that's insane.
I saw the ballot and I was like, oh my God. And then I have to hear people talking about that damn Bush where he got that one line. Y'all gonna vote for this man? Shut up. I don't want to even hear it.
Yeah, he's not on the ballot because he didn't fill out the paperwork.
You couldn't even fill out the paperwork, but yet you want to get elected. Child, please. These people are insane. But yeah, that race is interesting. But what about the LA race? Because that is nuts with Spencer.
Ooh, I heard a little bit about that too. So spill the tea, Myron.
So Spencer Pratt is the celebrity choice, right? He has no experience. Even his sister said he's just trying to sell his book, right? And he has entered the race, and unfortunately, because Los Angeles is so massive and so it's its own country. It is the Los Angeles area GDP is bigger than almost every state except California's. That's how big it is by itself. And he is throwing out all the Trump stuff, right? Blaming Karen Bass for stuff she had no control over. And it's the classic situation where, as a challenger, you could say anything. As the incumbent of a massive city and state, she has to account for and answer for the city, the city. He's blaming her for the wildfires. Like a lot of those people in cities that are not Los Angeles with their own mayors and city councils were blaming the mayor of Los Angeles for their infrastructure. And they just go on and on with this. I think she will win. And I back Karen. I'm not a Los Angeles citizen. I can't vote there. It's a shame that the Republicans don't have anybody better than somebody like that. No experience, no understanding how government works, no real plans. I'm just a white guy, a celebrity. I should be the boss.
His own sister said, "Don't vote for this fool." He said he's crazy. Don't vote for this man. And yet people are still. I saw there was a poll, and I'm like, oh my god, this is insane. That this man even has a shot. Because I remember when he was on, I think it was that no, it was not Laguna Beach. It was one of those shows.
Was it The Hills or something?
The Hill. No, it was not. It's one of those.
Okay, anyway, yeah.
Yeah, one of those MTV shows, and I think it was The Hills, and he was so annoying even then.
Right.
And I'm just like, what are we even doing? So we are still stuck in this like weird place where even the fact that Steve Hilton is where he is indicative of how crazy our politics is right now. Because that man should have no shot. The people that should be in the top, I'm glad the Chad Bianco guy is like falling off because he's a psychopath. He's a psychopath. But Steve Hilton still being the number 2 person, thank God, Javi. I mean, listen, for what it's worth, I am glad that they exposed Eric Swalwell. He got him up out of there, gave Javier Becerra a chance to shine. The influencers have done their jobs of trying to, push for him. Tom Steyer, we have to fight the Tom Steyer people as well. I have fallen back from it because again, it's not my state. I'm watching Jose and you, Myron. A bunch of people that I see are like trying to advocate for Javier Becerra.
Yeah, and I think Tiff, indeed, I think it would have been best if Katie Porter would have had a better campaign, and it could have been Becerra against Porter in the general election.
Yeah, that would have been a fair fight. It would have been a fair fight because
I still would go for Becerra, but the way Katie has
acted, she has blown. But the thing is, she did the same thing with Adam Schiff. She was PITCH with Adam Schiff, and what did she say after he won? Basically, that the election was rigged. I mean, the woman is crazy.
Get out of my fucking shot.
Get out of my shot.
She is insane.
She proved again she wasn't ready for the Senate. Oh, God. Yeah, she wasn't ready for the Senate. She's not ready for governor. She never should have given up her seat.
Because even now, at first I was like, okay, well, maybe if Katie keeps it cool, she could actually, if Becerra gets elected, then she could get a shot to be in his administration. The way she's coming at him, not happening now. Not going to happen.
She doesn't seem to play well with others.
She does not.
And at this time, I think we need diplomats. I am for the no drama Obama types or we need calm and steady. Yes. We don't need the performative, antics or any of that stuff. We need people who can get shit done. Okay.
Yes. That's what I want. I want people to get stuff done. And I want people who have knowledge, who have understanding, who actually
a track record.
And I appreciate one thing I will say that I appreciate about Javier Becerra is that I have seen him more on other people's social media than I have on anything else, right? Because I follow a bunch of influencers, and I have seen so many of them get in interviews with him, kind of be able to have conversations with him, even very short 3-minute conversations to ask a question, whatever it may be. So the fact that he is embracing new media and having those conversations tells me that he actually gets it. Unlike the rest of them who don't get it.
Yeah, you know what? I can add
That's
to that
wonderful.
because his team reached out to me. This has probably been a month after Swalwell dropped out. They reached out to some creators or something, and I went to the little meeting, and they were looking for people to advocate, right,
Mhm.
push his stuff and all this kind of stuff. And I thanked them, but I told them, I'm independent. I don't want to do anything like that. And they said, "Oh, you can do a sit down interview with them." I was like, yeah, that's not my style. I don't want to do all that.
I'm not an interview person.
Yeah, that's not me. And they
Well, tell him,
said,
come on up here to I will do it.
it was interesting because they said because Swalwell was so much in the lead that the Becerra team hadn't built out anything. Like they were behind the eight ball and needed to get things going. And I organically was supporting him. Like I didn't need to do that
Right.
stuff. And I just said, well, if I get a chance, because I'm going to follow the debate. It's my state, so I'm going to post on it
Absolutely.
anyway. And I organically follow you, so I don't want to do any things with your team. But you're right, Tiff. Now I see him. He's doing the sit down interviews. He's getting his social media. His more stuff is out there, and it looks good. And I think when the polls come out after this debate, I was hoping the big names would do their endorsements, right? So in the state, you got the Pelosi money people. You want them endorsing. Of course, you got Gavin and Kamala, but I don't think they're going to endorse until we get past
they're
primary, right? And that's pretty normal.
You know what? I'm actually okay with that. You know
I'm
what
okay
I mean?
with that
Because and I've seen it in my own state, right? Where there's people that are like that what people would consider the establishment. I hate that word, like no other.
Me too.
Another word for it. But the powers that be. I like to say the powers that be.
Powers that be.
Powers that be in the state, the governor, the big names, as you would say. Those people have, when they start putting like their hands on stuff, it feels like they're trying to manipulate people, and it feels like they're trying to do their own influencing of the election, which is, I mean, that's what an endorsement is, right? You're influencing people to vote for somebody because you're co-signing who that person is.
Right.
But I almost wish that they stay out of these things because it doesn't help. It doesn't. I see it myself. Like I made a video last week about my own congressional race where the governor, who I adore, everybody knows that I love me some Governor Westmore, but I was not happy that he endorsed in my congressional district because there's 23 candidates.
Gosh, that's so many.
There's 23 candidates, and I'm just like, you know what? I don't. And Angela also Brooks too. They endorsed. But thankfully, they didn't endorse in my county executive race, and I thought that was a good thing. Let the people decide who they want without your hands in the pot.
Right.
Because for me, that didn't sway me in any kind of way. I don't give a damn who you endorse. I'm gonna do my homework and I'm gonna figure out who the best candidate is. But other people do rely on endorsements. And I'm curious to see how California turns out because not too many people have really in the establishment, so to speak, have endorsed Javier Becerra. Even before they endorsed Swalwell, but they didn't endorse him. And people would typically think he is the establishment candidate, but he's not. He's not. They don't like him. They do not like him.
He's an outsider with experience.
He kind of gets like the Kamala treatment, I feel like, as a Latino man who stands on principle, who really isn't a showy kind of person.
Right.
And I feel like people and he's worked in Congress and all that stuff. And I've heard rumors that Nancy Pelosi doesn't really like him and all this other. They had their battles back in the day when he was in Congress. So I want them to stay out of it. Actually, don't say nothing. Mind your business over there because then people will feel like they're like, I don't want to be involved with somebody.
Like they picked them. They picked them.
I think that's a wise move. The organization that I, work with to help more Democrats get elected to the State House, Blue Tennessee. That is how we don't give money to folks until they win their primary. Like we can support folks individually if we want. And here in Tennessee, Justin Pearson has gotten a lot of endorsements from some of the senators, the state senators and representatives, but not all of them. In fact, my state Senate
Mhm.
or, House representative have not given an endorsement, for him. So I have kind of mixed feelings about it. I think
Sure.
from a national standpoint, yeah, they should probably stay out of it. But in local elections and things, sometimes I think, it's a little
It
different.
is.
And I just feel like it's like we talked about early on in our conversation, it depends on the situation, the state, and the place. Sometimes that is helpful. I think in Justin's situation, it is helpful to see kind of, experienced
Right.
politicians, say, yes, he will be a great representative. Like before they gerrymandered my district, my former representative, who I loved, had endorsed him, and he was a good representative, and so that means a lot to me. But I can't vote for Justin, but like I said, just kind of watching it and helping to promote him. But again, I don't want to keep you guys here forever, but I do want to thank you, Myron, for
Thank
joining
you.
us. I want to thank everyone in the audience, wherever you're joining us, whether it's on X, Substack, Spoutable, or YouTube. We try to come every 2 weeks. Tiff and I are here, and we love it when Myron comes. He knows he has an open invitation. I tell you, the folks in the comments love it when you're here.
Yeah, it's been too long, so I'll make sure I come back a lot sooner this time.
Awesome, awesome. So, any last words or thoughts before I let you guys go today?
I would just say wherever you are, your upcoming midterms, just please vote for the Democrat that's running in your race.
I
Great
agree.
advice.
Yeah, my advice is really it's okay to fall back. Like it's okay to just breathe because everything is too crazy. Everything is nuts.
That's right.
And sometimes you just need, I mean, you know what I do? I go watch my monkey videos.
Those
This one
funny
person said
videos.
on X, she was like defending me. She's like, some of leftist was coming. She's like, all she posts about is monkey videos. Now I'm the monkey lady, so that's kind of funny, but it's true because that's my
I love
escape
it.
for all of this. It
I love
really
it.
is.
And that leads me to mind, and I do think that it's important for of course, my whole thing is about pushing and empowering people to get civically engaged. I think it is important in this moment that we all do something. We can't do everything, but we all do something, and you
I
can
love it.
pick whatever that thing is that you feel you can do best and be consistent with, and do that, because I feel like all efforts matter. But I also, lining up with what Tiff said, think it is important because this is a marathon,
Yes.
and we have to think about this in long term, um, in a long-term way, and fight. So we have to also preserve our sanity, our peace of mind, and our energy so that we are able to sustain effective energy for fighting and finishing the marathon. And that means, doing those things that bring you joy. I
Yes.
am encouraging people to actually find ways to cultivate and maintain intentional joy. It really is important. Tiff has found the monkeys. I have found my balcony garden. So you're going to be seeing
Nice.
a lot of posts about my little seedlings and my plants, the ones that grow and thrive and the ones that don't quite survive. So, but I want to thank you all for
Thank
joining
you.
us. And as always, it has been a delight to be here with two of my favorite people. And we will see you back here in a couple of weeks in Fired Up Friday. And we hope you will join us then, because we know we'll have lots more to talk about then.
Nonstop. All right,
All
guys.
right.
Later. Bye.
Right now.
Bye bye, everyone.